in a traditional process, typically what happens is the building owner decides, I want a building. And then they go out and they hire an architect. And the architect goes through programming. They talk to the owner about what they want, what they need, what things need to be next to one another, right? How many square foot of this and square foot of that. And then quite often what happens is the engineers who need to design the systems for this building don't even get hired until at least that concept is done, or maybe even further along in the process. So the engineers come to the table late. They're not involved in a lot of that early design decision making. And then they're asked to basically put their systems as efficiently as they can onto some preconceived design that they haven't been involved with developing. So in an integrative practice, those engineers are brought to the table earlier. So you want to involve all the players as early as possible. And you want to involve all the players in all of the design decision making. So the development of that building envelope that the architect comes up with, and floor plan and layout and window placement and all those kind of things have big impacts on, say, the heating and cooling loads the mechanical engineer is going to have to deal with. So LEED's credit structure is the same for every credit and prerequisite. There's a credit intent. There are specific requirements, and then there's usually a discussion of strategies and techniques you could use to meet the credit requirement. So what we see a lot of project teams doing is strictly focusing on the credit requirement and trying to figure out how can we do the minimum that we need to do in order to meet that credit requirement. So one example of the wrong way to use LEED is to do something that is not actually in the best interest of your project, that actually doesn't make a whole lot of sense for your project, just to chase a LEED point. One of the keys that we found in our practice to producing really good outcomes, and you would think that this would be kind of self-evident, but you need to establish specific project performance goals in the beginning of the project if you hope to achieve an outcome where you have significantly high levels of performance. So establishing those goals early on is a critical element. So quite often what we see in a lot of projects is they don't know what energy efficiency means specifically or quantitatively for their project. So what they'll do is basically they'll say in the beginning of design, we want an energy efficient building. And that means absolutely nothing. So if you want an energy efficient building, you need to define what an energy efficient building means.